Hello, I'm Jim White, the Technical Director from CLOUDYBAY. So we've got which is our current vintage of Sauvignon. CLOUDYBAY Sauvignon is probably, I think we could say, is the most famous wine, particularly white wine from New Zealand. The first vintage was in 1985, when the wine region of Marlborough at that stage was very, very small. So let's taste. So in pretty classic CLOUDYBAY Sauvignon style, lots of lifted stone fruit, limes, some red guava, which is really nice to taste here in Taiwan because it's a very similar aromatic and flavour profile, lovely lift, and then that sort of explosion of fruit in the mouth. That's, for us, is very typical, that really the wine sort of throws itself through the mouth, and then we get that lovely mouth-watering acidity, and that long finish. For me, classic of our style. Screams for some oysters or some fresh seafood. So this is the 2015 vintage of CLOUDYBAY Jacoco. This is also made with Sauvignon Blanc, but it's a very unique style. So it's fermented 100% in oak barrels, only a very small percentage of new oak. It spends 18 months in barrel on lees, developing textures and richness during that time. And you've got some of those classic citrus and stone fruit aromas, but there's a far sort of more greater level of exotic fruits, and I get almost rambutans and some ginger flowers, and still within that same sort of flavour profile, maybe lemongrass. And in the palate, this wine's got a whole nother layer of richness. It really coats the mouth in lots of that, again, citrus characteristics, but in a much richer style. It's a really interesting wine in that way, and I think it sort of provides, it almost demands your attention. Whereas I think Sauvignon Blanc, you just want to drink it for its just pure deliciousness. This is a wine that you actually want to spend some time and think about. Yeah, so we also have the 2015 CLOUDYBAY Sauvignon Blanc as it was a really nice comparison. Typically, most of our wine is consumed quite quickly and people don't get a chance to age or hold on to CLOUDYBAY Sauvignon Blanc. And a little bit more savouriness, there's some like a touch of honey or a touch of toastiness starting to develop on the nose. Lovely ripe peach, it's almost an overripe peach, sort of opulent flavours and aromas. And like the Jacoco, it has an element more rich, but it's, on the palate for me, it's much tighter and longer. That mouth-watering acidity hasn't gone away. That keeps the wine really fresh. Really shows, for us, the characteristics that we're aiming to get into our wines. Balance, concentration, lovely fresh acidity. If we've got those key components in our wines, they will age really nicely. This is the 2015 CLOUDYBAY Pinot Noir. Again, similar hallmarks to Sauvignon and Jacoco from that year. It's quite concentrated, quite intense flavours. So we've got some sort of quite dark berries and bright cherry. But I think the thing that I really like about our Marlborough Pinot Noir is it has a savoury complement to that fruit. I'm getting some almost nutmeg, cinnamon type spices, and we're getting lots of that red fruits up the front of the palate. Lovely sweetness, there's that silky tannins, but then as the wine goes through the palate and we get that sort of long lingering flavour, it's more on that savoury side. It's more of that sort of spices and earthiness, and I think for me that makes this a lovely food wine because it's not overpowering with sort of overt sweetness. So matching this with dishes that have got mushrooms in them, or we think about meat, we think about duck and pork. So I thought it'd be a really interesting comparison. We've just tried the 2015 CLOUDYBAY Pinot Noir, and now we have the 2016. The wine has much more floral, red-fruited lift. Stylistically, I guess, similar, but really showing the impact of the harvest conditions, the vintage conditions on the wine. That similar spicy note continues through the 16. It's a little longer, maybe a little less complex at this stage, but that lovely entry of red fruits in the mouth, that sort of explosion, silky, fine tannins. I really like the 16 because it's sort of like velvet across the tongue, and it flows really nicely through the palate and leaves this lovely, long, lingering, sort of spicy, fruity finish, which I really enjoy. So I guess Mother Nature is something that we have to work with every year, and I think some of the beauty of what we do in the wine industry is we can never make the same wine twice.